we're going to look at adding and subtracting fractions. Now, adding and subtracting fractions may be a review topic for you, but it is very important to know how to do well because it comes up not only now, but it comes up in any future math class. You need to know how to do it well in algebra, geometry, calculus, whatever math you go to, you'll find adding and subtracting fractions. So we're just going to start with the basics, kind of reviewing. And the first thing we want to think about is what is the key to be able to add or subtract any fractions. And the key is, of course, we need to get a common denominator. If we don't have common denominators, we can't add fractions. This is the key. So, what happens when we do have common denominators? Like here, 3/13 plus 7/13. The key to remember is don't add the denominators, but our answer will have the same denominator, and we add the tops. 3 plus 7, we get 10/13. Same thing with subtracting. 9/11 minus 4/11, our answer is going to be in 11ths. 9 minus 4 is 5, so 5/11. And last, here, if we have negatives and positives, it doesn't matter. It's the same idea. We need a common denominator. Our answer is going to be the same denominator, fifths, and then we'll have -2 plus 4. Remember, subtract those numbers, and look what's the bigger sign. 4 minus 2 is 2, and the positive is bigger, so it's +2/5. So that is the basics of adding and subtracting fractions when we have a common denominator. But what about when we don't have one? Well, we'll look at a few examples here. Starting with this addition problem up here, 3/8 plus 1/6. Now, to get a common denominator, we have to change these fractions. And we need to find a number that 6 and 8 both go into, preferably the smallest number, the least common multiple. One way we can do that is take the bigger number and count multiples of 8 until you find one that 6 goes into. So 8, 16, 6 does not go into 24. 6 does go into 24 4 times. So we can multiply 6 by 4. And remember, with a fraction, we can't change the value of it. So we can't just multiply the bottom by 4. We have to do the same thing to the top of the fraction. And then 8, to get 24, we'd multiply by 3. We have to do the same thing to the top. So if we do this multiplication, we get 3 times 3 is 9. 8 times 3 is 24. 9/24. And here, 1 times 4 is 4. 6 times 4 is 24. Now, we have a familiar problem. We have a common denominator. 9/24 plus 4/24. Our answer will be 24. 9 plus 4, 13. So that is addition. How about subtraction? Same idea. Find a common denominator by finding the least common multiple. We can count by 5s. And see what 4 goes into. 5, 10, no. 15, no. 20, yes. Okay, so we counted 4. 5 times 4 gets us 20. And 4 times 5 gets us 20. And remember, do the same to the top of a fraction that you do to the bottom of it. 9 times 4, we get 36/20 minus 15/20. So if we subtract this, our answer is going to stay with the 20ths, but 36 minus 15, we get 21/20. We can leave our answer as an improper fraction or write it as a mixed number. Either one is okay. And we can see there's nothing to simplify here. Nothing goes into 1 and 20, so we leave it just as it is. So we'll look at one more that's not a mixed number, and we'll look at one that has a negative here. So we have -4/9 plus 5/12. Now again, we want to look for least common multiple. 12 9 doesn't go into that. 24, no. 36, yes. 9 times 4 is 36. 12 times 3 is 36. So we can do times 3 on this fraction, top and bottom, times 4 on this, top and bottom. Negative 4 times 4 is negative 16 over 36. And then here, 5 times 3, we get plus 15 over 36. So our answer is going to be in 36. And we have negative 16 plus 15. Remember, subtract these numbers, we get 1, but the negative is bigger, so the answer is negative 1. So negative 1/36. Something of note for fractions that you should remember is if the fraction is negative, it doesn't matter where you write the negative sign. Negative 1 over 36 is the same as putting negative 1/36 with the negative out front, or even writing 1 over negative 36. If there's one negative sign, they all mean the same thing. So don't get too wrapped up in where the negative should go. As long as there's one negative, just put it in front of the fraction. Now we looked at 2 examples with mixed numbers. The first one is 2 4/5 plus 3 1/3. Now, one thing you can do is just add the whole numbers and then add the fractions. Something that happens when we do that is we can end up with extra whole numbers in the fraction addition that we'll have to then transfer to whole numbers. That causes extra steps. What I prefer to do is just change everything to an improper fraction. So remember, to do that, we take our whole number, multiply it by our denominator, then add our numerator. 2 times 5 is 10, plus 4, we get 14/5, plus 3 times 3 is 9, plus 1 is 10, so 10/3. Then we have to change that into common denominator. 5 and 3, well, we can pretty quickly see that that's 15, and we'll get a different color here. We'll times the first one by 3, top and bottom, second one by 5, top and bottom, and we end up with 14 times 3 is 42/15, plus 10 times 5, we get 50 over 15. So again, our answer will be 15ths. 42 plus 50 is 92/15. So looking at that, it doesn't seem like anything goes into both. We can check by changing to a mixed number. 15 goes into 96 times with 2 left over. So we get 6 2/15. Either of these answers are okay. It's okay to leave it as an improper fraction, and you'll find later on in algebra, often we prefer this over a mixed number, but either answer is fine here. And one more, and another reason why I prefer using improper fractions, 3 1/3 minus 1 3/4. So often we might think we can subtract the whole numbers, but here, if we try subtracting the fractions, 1/3 minus 3/4, 1/3 is smaller, so we'd end up with a negative, which would make it kind of difficult. So again, we'll convert. 3 times 3 plus 1, 10/3. 1 times 4 plus 3 is 7/4. Subtracting, and we'll convert or get a common denominator. 3 and 4, we just multiply 3 by 4 to get 12, and 4 by 3 to get 12, top and bottom. We get 40 over 12 minus 21 over 12. Now we can easily see that 40 minus 21 is 19/12, or 1 7/12. So now we've looked at the key for fractions. Adding and subtracting is a common denominator. We just add or subtract the numerators then once we have that. And if we don't have it, look for the greatest common factor. Easiest by counting the biggest number until you get a multiple of the smaller number also. And if you have a mixed number, remember, convert to impropers, common denominator, then add or subtract. Now you can go on to the practice assignment for addition and subtraction.